हरि ओम्। ॐ सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः, गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः, वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः, यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। I think we were seeing the 18th shloka from the 4th chapter, right? Yes. अथ चतुर्थोऽध्यायः ज्ञानयोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच कर्मण्यकर्म यः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तकृत्स्न कर्मकृत्।
He who recognizes inaction in action and action in inaction is wise among men. He is a yogi and a true performer of all actions.
Yes. So last week when we were looking at this 17th shloka, Bhagavan Krishna says, to know the path of action, it is difficult. Gahana karmano gatihi. It is secret and also difficult. So that difficult part he is explaining here. One who can see action in inaction and who can see inaction in action is an intelligent person. So now let us see how to see action in inaction and inaction in action. See, action is happening everywhere, always. But it becomes karma only when the doership is there. So for that, I think in my last one of my talks, I was giving an example. See, this world champion Vishwanathan Anand was playing chess with computer chess. Computer is also playing and Anand is also playing. Action is happening both ways. Computer also is acting. Vishwanath also is acting. When both of them are actually acting, the results that is given by that will affect Vishwanathan Anand, not the computer. Why? There is a doership here, and last time we saw that there should be a living entity. Then only that doership is there. And only then the karma will be there. So when there is a doership and the work is done or the action is done, that is called as karma. So if that doership itself is removed, then there is no karma. So when a person is doing some work and there is no doership, there is no karma. But he is not doing any action sitting there still. Physically, he is not doing any action. He is just sitting like that. But in his mind, so many thoughts are flowing. And he has the thought that I am doing, I am thinking, it is because of me. There is a doership there. So though he is not doing any action physically, there is a mental action going on. And there we see action in inaction. See how beautifully Bhagavan is explaining. All these things are explained to help us to move in the path of karma to attain moksha. Yesterday I was attending one puja, and there saint from Sarpabhushana Matha was there. And we were just talking. So Swamiji told one beautiful thing about Bhagavad Gita, which even I had not thought of or heard of. Swamiji said, see, the first, among the 5 sons, the eldest one actually is considered to be this Karna. Karna is the elder one, Kunti's sons. So first one is Karna, then we know that it is Dharmaraya, then it is Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadeva. So there, Swamiji said, Karna means, actually the meaning of the word Karna is kivi. This is ear. So when you hear something from your ears, that is about the dharma, second son. With your ears, if you listen to dharma and then you inculcate those things in your life, like Dridakaya Bhima, having a good physique and inculcating everything, you will win over the world like Arjuna, great victory. And then when you win over the world like Arjuna, you become Nakula. Nakula means no kula. There is no caste. There is no differentiation between me, you and the world. Nakula. And when you are able to live in that state, you become Sahadeva. Sahadeva means what? You are one with the God. Sahadeva. You are one with Krishna. This was a beautiful thought I felt. I had never thought of these names in this way. Karna, with your karna, that is with your ears, listen to dharma, then inculcate those things with a good physical body like Bhima Dridakaya, then you will gain victory like Arjuna. And once you win over all these things, then you become Nakula, one with the whole universe, and you will be with the God himself, Sahadeva. That was one thought. And one more thought he told is this Pancha Pandavas can be taken as Panchendriya, 5 sense organs. These 5 sense organs are actually surrendered to the mind. They work depending on the mind. So the mind here is Draupadi, mind and intellect. And this Draupadi, what did she do? She surrendered to Krishna, God Bhagavan. See, these 5 sense organs, when they are controlled by mind and buddhi, mind and intellect, and they are surrendered to Atman or the Krishna, that is moksha, mumukshatva. So this 2 things which I really wanted to share with you all, because I felt, wow, I had not thought about these 2 things in this way. Here Bhagavan Krishna is also telling action in action and inaction in action is the way to go towards the moksha. Moksha is freedom from suffering and joy. Right. And he is the Buddhiman. Sabuddhiman Manusheshu, the one who is intelligent, will be acting in that way. And he will be a yogi. So that's those 2 things which I told about the Pandavas will be the easiest way to remember our path. That's why I wanted to share with you. Continuing. Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpavarjitaha jnanagnidagdha karmanam tamaho panditam buddhaha.
Whose undertakings are all devoid of desires and purposes, and whose actions have been burnt by the fire of knowledge, him the wise call a sage.
Yes. Whom do we call a wise person here? Buddhiman. Who is this wise person? One who is working without sankalpa. Sankalpa means some kalpa. Kalpane. Kalpana is this, I imagine something. Sankalpa. That sankalpa which I make means I imagine by doing this work, I will get this result. That is my desire and that is the imagination. I think when I do this, I will get this. That is sankalpa. And there is a desire and sankalpa. When I do this work, that is the desire, and expect this result. An intelligent person is one who goes beyond this desire and sankalpa. That is the result. And he works just because he has to work. And what will have happened to these desire and this sankalpa, the desire and the results? He says it will be burnt in the knowledge. That means he has understood everything properly. And with his knowledge, he thinks that it's not fair to have this desire, or that he should not think that he should have this result only. Phalapekshe. There is no phalapekshe, there is no desire. But he will be working just because that work comes to him, and he will be working just like, I told you, kartrutva bhavatyaga. That means he's not going to think that only he is working, I am the doer, I have to do, I only have to do, only if I do, everything will be all right. No, it's not like that. This job has come to me, that's why I am doing it. With that intention, he will be working. So that person is an intelligent person. One who does not claim doership is an intelligent person. Continuing. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nityatrupto nirashrayaha karmanyabhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saham.
Having abundant attachment to the fruits of action, ever content, depending on nothing, he does not do anything, though engaged in actions.
So he does not tyaktva karma phala sangam. When he is doing something, he has given up the desire of the fruits from that particular karma. See, giving up the fruits means it is not like that. Last chapter we have discussed about that. Giving up the fruits of action means we are not asking for a particular fruit. Whatever fruit we get, he is accepting. Giving up fruits of action. Karma phala tyaga means accepting whatever fruits he gets from the karma. And he is nitya trupta. Nitya trupta means always contented. See, there is difference between satisfaction and contentment. There are two words which we usually use. Satisfaction means I have a desire to have something and I have got that. Suppose I want to go to a movie, that's the desire, it is fulfilled and I'm satisfied with that. I wanted to earn so much money, I have earned and I'm satisfied. When I desire for something and I get it, that is called as satisfaction. Suppose there is no desire at all, I am contented. Nitya trupta is that. There are no wants, there are no needs. That is called as contentment. He is always contented. Contented means he is not expecting anything from outside, but still he is satisfied with whatever he has. That is called as contentment, self-contained. He is enough. He says, it's enough. Whatever I have is fine. I am happy with that. So a person who has given up the fruits of the action and who is contented, Nitya Trupta he is called. And he is not dependent on anything. Nirashrayaha. Nirashraya means is not dependent on anything for anything. See, we always depend on somebody for something. Even for happiness, we say, just because of you, I am unhappy. Because you did this, I got hurt. You should not have told me that. See, for everything we are dependent on others. I get hurt. For that reason, we make somebody responsible. In Buddha's story, once he'll be going for begging, Buddha, Bhikshu, he goes begging with one of his disciples. And then in one house, of course, she will give Buddha some food. And with that, she gave so much of scoldings to him. You bhikshus are useless. You always come begging. You are useless in this world. Why do you live here? You are only, useless for this world. Something like that she keeps scolding. And then Buddha just takes the food and walks forward. And this disciple also walks with this Buddha. When they go a little far, after half an hour, 1 hour, this disciple, the Shishya is not very happy about this person speaking about Buddha in that way. He says, Guru, see, I was not happy, Master. I was not very happy about that lady speaking about you like that. Shall I go back and give all those words back to her and come? Buddha will say, see, I wanted food. I took the food. I didn't take those words at all. I just left it there. Why do you want to carry those words? We went to beg and we wanted to take the food. Of course, she offered both words and food, but I took only food. See, nobody can hurt us. Only if we take it to our heart, we get hurt. If we don't take it, there is nothing like that. So here, Nitya Trupta is like that. Nirashraya means he is not dependent on anyone for anything. He is free from everything. Nitya Trupto Nirashrayaha Karmanya Vipravuttopi Naiva Kinchit Karoti. And he will always be doing his job totally like, he's totally involved in his work. And he feels I'm not doing anything. See, when do you feel that we are doing something? Once when Swamiji was telling, you sit and do pranayama for 10 hours. 10 hours. And he did for 10 hours pranayama, holding the nose, no? At the end of the day, he was tired. See, we are breathing 24/7. Are we tired? Are we tired of breathing? No. Why? Because it is happening. When something happens, there is no tiredness. When we forcibly do something, there is tiredness because that I is there. I am doing pranayama. I am doing exercise. That is why I get tired. I am working. I am doing this work. That I-ness is there which makes us tired. So this person who is Buddhiman never gets tired. Why? Because he doesn't have that I-ness at all. And he is doing as if it is happening. Because there is no I-ness, everything is happening. It's just happening and he is not tired at all. Naiva kinchit karoti saha. Even little bit he is not tired. And he feels that he is not doing anything. Like, breathing, do we feel that we are breathing? No, it is happening. Just like that, when he does some work, he never says that I am doing it. It is just happening. So he is tirelessly doing all the karma. Continuing. निराशीर्यत चित्तात्मा त्यक्त सर्वपरिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्.
Without hope, with the mind and self-control, having abandoned all possessions, doing mere bodily action, he incurs no sin.
Yes. So how does this karma yogi work? Beautifully it is told, he doesn't have any desire. Nirashir yat chittatma tyaktva sarva parigraha. He is holding his mind and intelligence, he is controlling. The mind and intelligence are in his hands. They are very well controlled. And he does not have any desire at all. And he is called as aparigrahi. Aparigrahi means he doesn't want to, collect and keep anything. That sangraha buddhi is not there in him. He doesn't want to collect anything. Like we want to collect money, we want to collect name and fame, we want to collect so many things, thinking that they all give us security, we keep collecting. That is called as parigraha. Parigraha means holding on to so many things. In the previous shloka, we saw he is not dependent on anything. So he does not collect and keep anything. We all collect money. We see we need financial security, social security, medical security. So all those things we hold on to. But an intelligent person doesn't do all those things. And he will be working using his body, and for everyone it shows as if he is working. And he is working also. But still there is no collection of karma phala because he is not doing the job as telling that I am doing. He is abiding in the self and doing all the work. He physically, though he is doing all the work physically, he will not be acquiring any papa or punya. Kurvannapnoti kilvisham. Shariram kevalam karma kurvannapnoti kilvisham. Though he is physically doing all the work, he will not be acquiring any of this papa and punya. Continuing. Yadrichalabhasantushtaha dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddhau cha kritvapi na nibadhyate.
Content with what comes to him without effort, free from the pairs of opposites and envy, even-minded in success and failure, though acting is not bound.
So what this intelligent person will do, he will not ask for anything. Whatever he gets, he is happy about that. He does all the work, but still he is happy. He is happy with whatever he gets. And he is mukta. That means he is free from the duality. Dualities are what? Sukha, dukkha, this is duality. Mana, apamana is duality. Sukha, dukkha, mana, apamana, labha and nashta. When, see, these dual things are there in this world. That means in every, if there is a good person, there is a bad person. If there is a hardworking person, there is a lazy person. If it is cold now, hotness is there. So everything is in this world exists in duality. If there is joy, there is sorrow. If there is night, there is day. If there is sunset, there is sunrise. So all these dualities will be there. understanding this, he will be free from those two. And when there is victory, there is losing, chances of losing also. And he will be equal in everything. Samasiddhau Samasiddhava cha kritva pina nibhadyate. So he will be taking everything, whether it is a victory or loss, whether it is suffering or joy, for everything he will remain stable. See, it doesn't mean that when he is happy, does he not laugh? He laughs. He will laugh when he is sorrowful, he will cry, he will do all that. But his mind inside will come back to the tranquility within no time. See, I always say the word for a Gnani and Agnani, it is the same. But Gnanis, when they get disturbed, they get their mind to tranquility, come back to that peacefulness of the mind within no time. Whereas we take hours and hours, or sometimes it could be days. So that is the difference. Here, this Karma Yogi, Gnani, he is working with the Samachitta, that is tranquility of the mind. And he is always Mukta. Mukta means what? He is free from desires, free from the karma phala, and he is free from the joy and sorrow also. Samasiddhava siddhocha kritva pina nibadhyate. So that's how a karma yogi should work. That is what Bhagavan Krishna is telling to Arjuna. Continuing one more shloka, we can see. Gata sangasya muktasya gnanavastita chetasaha yajnayacharata karma samagram praviliyate.
Of one who is devoid of attachment, who is liberated, whose mind is established in knowledge, who acts for the sake of sacrifice, all his actions are dissolved.
One who is unattached, one who is free from all these things, and he is abiding in the self intelligently, and who is doing all the work in the Yajna Bhava. Yajna Bhava is doing without any expectation. So a person, when he does all the work with the Yajna Bhava, the karma phala will not be generated. See, in Chinmaya Mission, we all have heard about Gita Gnana Yajna. Gita Gnana Yajna is teaching this Bhagavad Gita, expecting nothing. It is done as a seva to the mankind. So that is the Yajna Bhava. I offer everything. I do all my work without expecting anything from that side. So that is Yajna Bhava. When all the works are done with the Yajna Bhava, so see, I'm doing work without expecting any result, then I'll not get any result. That is, any result means papa or punya. I will not be acquiring all those things. Yajna yacharata karma samagram praviliyate. When we do that in the Yajna Bhava, nothing is actually taken. Hari Om. So when a person does the work with the Yajna Bhava, this is very important, we should understand. This can be practiced in life in almost all the things we do every day. Like cooking, I only should cook, I only should do everything. No, let us do it in Yajna Bhava. We have got the opportunity to cook for the family, let us do it. That is the Yajna Bhava. Any work we do, if we do it with the Yajna Bhava. Bringing up children, yes, we wanted children, we had children. And it is our duty to raise children in a beautiful way without expecting anything. All parents, most of them have the expectation telling that when I bring up my child, he grows up, he will look after me. So Yajna Bhava is like, not if he takes care of me, it is fine. It is not that when he takes care, I should not take his services and all. But that expectation, suppose he doesn't take care of me when I'm old, that hurts me, right? So whenever we do the karma, if we do it with the Yajna Bhava, without expecting anything from them, from anybody, for the matter of fact, from the world, that will not generate any karma phala. Or the phala generated will not give any effect on me. There will be no effect of the karma phala on me. So a karma yogi will be doing the work in that way. And when he works like that, there is no karma phala at all, because he does not have the doership. Continuing, the next shloka is most important shloka in Bhagavad Gita. This shloka is chanted even before taking food. It is a practice, it's a prayer like. And you must all be very familiar with this shloka. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina.
Brahman is the oblation. Brahman is the clarified butter, etc. Consisting the offerings by Brahman is the oblation poured into the fire of Brahman. Brahman verily shall be reached by him who always says Brahman in all actions.
See, whatever this Gnani does, he will be saying Brahman. That means God only. This is a beautiful shloka. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi. See, this is explained like this. Whenever we feel hungry, there is a Jataragni, it is called. Agni is that burning, we say, no, I'm starving, I'm starving, I want food. There is a fire in the stomach which has to be cooled. So that Jataragni is there, that is also Brahman. From where is it created? From the Chaitanya Shakti only. And for that, we are giving food. Where did this food come? This food is also Brahman, that is God. Where did we get this food from? It is from the nature outside. Where did this nature come from? It is from the Brahman. And we are taking that food and preparing the food with the use of fire. Where did that fire come from? Again, that is Brahman. Brahman is God. See, the definition of Brahman or God in the Upanishads is principle of existence. If something has to exist or that has to be alive, there is a power, strength which makes that living being, and living thing like that. So that is called Brahman. So this fire is used for cooking, and that food is taken, and this is the hand is used to take that food and put it to the mouth. This hand is also Brahman. And the food that goes into the fire, and that fire is also Brahman. It is called as Yagna. You must have seen a Homa or a Havan where there is a Havana Kunda, and they have lit the fire there, and they will be pouring this ghee into that and all the samagris into that. You should have seen, telling all the mantras. So just like that, imagine that Jataragni, that in our stomach there is Agni, and for that we are giving the food. And an arpanam is used. Arpanam is this one wooden stick will be taken and they will be putting this. Like that, a yogi will be offering food. I mean, eating also becomes a yagna. Yagna bhava is like that. He is offering this Brahman to Brahman. That is why taking food is very important, they say. Jaisa an, vaisa man, they say. Whatever food we eat, that itself gives us the buddhi and man and buddhi. Jaisa an, vaisa man. See, in olden days, they, even in the villages, even now, they never give the food like, we eat in darshan, darshinis and all. Take the food in the plate, eating, roaming around. No, no, no. It is not like that. They ask you to sit, squat nicely on an asana. Then a banana leaf is laid there. And if it is some Mahatma or somebody eating, for everyone they used to do earlier, but now we do only for Swamijis and Gurujis like that. They put rangoli also. And the food is served with, great respect. It is not thrown on the plate there. Everything is kept with so much of love on the plate. Thinking that it is yagna, he is doing a puja there. He is offering the food so nicely. See, at least after listening to that, we should, now we have all the time in the world, we should nicely sit and eat properly, isn't it? Even that is puja. That's why it is called. When the food is laid, immediately they will not start eating. There is a prayer, small prayer. This Brahmarpanam is actually told at that time. That means I am offering this Brahma to this Brahma. This shloka is chanted, they pray to the God, or in anything like that, we thank God for giving us such good food, and then we start eating. So even that is like a puja. So this yogi thinks like, what does he do there? Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. So the food which has come from the Brahman, with the help of the Brahman, it reaches the Brahman. That is what is told in this shloka. So food should be eaten with all peace, respect and love. Because it's also like puja. Right. Next shloka. Daivameva pare yagnam yogina paryupasate brahmagnava pare yagnam yegne naivopajufvati.
Some yogis perform sacrifice to devas alone, Deva Yajna, while others offer sacrifice as sacrifice by the self in the fire of Brahman, Brahma Yajna.
Yes, see, this is beautiful. Till now we were thinking only the external world, like, whatever work we do outside, it should be done with the Yagna Bhava. Now, when we do everything with this 5 sense organs, that also can be with the Yagna Bhava. Now, I just told about the food, offering the food to the Jataragni with the Yagna Bhava. Now, there are people. How do they do this Yagna? They do Deva Yagna. Deva Yagna is what? Everything is offered to the Devatas. Whatever we do, it is offered to the Devatas. With that thought, when every work is done, it is called as Deva Yagna. And some of them, what they do, even the Atma, that is, Atma is the end-living thing, the Chaitanya Vastu in us, that also is offered to the God. That means abiding in the self. That is Brahma Yagna. Always abiding in the self. Whenever any action is done or whatever is done, he will never come out from the abidance in that self. So he will be abiding in the Brahman means he will be abiding in the self and looking everything outside him as God, Brahma alone. He will be able to see himself in everything and all the others in himself. That is called as Brahma Yajna. So we can do yajnas in so many ways, you know. Now only I told about the food. Now we are telling about this Atma, Brahma Yajna, abiding in the self. And in the next few shlokas, they are giving few more yajnas. We will see one more shloka. In that, we will know how these yajnas are done. When this Brahma Yajna is done, offering or abiding in the self means what is that we are putting? Yajna means we know. They put the ghee in the fire and the samagris in the fire. In Brahma Yajna, what are we going to put? We will be putting our ego in that. Ego will be put into this self. That means what is the, how is there now? That ego. So ego is put into the fire of that Brahman like that. If the Agni of the Havan or the Homakunda is thought of Brahman, and the ghee or the havis which we put into that fire is ego. So that is Brahma Yajna. That means that ego is burnt in that one. That also is done as Yajna. Continuing. Shrotradirindriyanyanye Sayyamagnishu juhvati Shabdadin Vishayananye Indriyagnishu juhvati.
Some again offer hearing and other senses as sacrifice in the fires of restraint. Others offer sound and other objects of sense as sacrifice in the fire of the senses.
See how this yajna can be done here. See, whatever we hear goes into our ear, isn't it? Listen to. So even if we do that as yajna, that is homa avan, only the good things are offered to God. Even to the fire of the Homakunda or Avana, we don't put something at all in that. It is only ghee and all the samagris which are actually prescribed, we will be putting into that. Just like that, when we are doing the yajna here, it is not that you can put anything because it is a fire and it will burn everything. No. So this Indriya Samyama, it is told. Sayyamagnishu juhvati. All the sense organs are controlled in such a way that only good things are put into that. Okay, let me explain. Indriya, how we will do. 5 sense organs. Suppose I am doing yajna with my eyes. I cannot feed anything to my eyes. You know, like, you can see everything and anything. No. It only good things are shown to the eyes. That is yajna. And to my ear, I can give anything, any sound, anything can be heard with my ears. No, I do selective hearing. Of course, I cannot stop others speaking whatever they want, they will be speaking. I can't stop them by asking them not to speak what I don't want to hear. But I can be selective in listening to them. I can listen what I want to. So that is the yajna, Shrotriya yajna. Even the taste, I told about the food which I offer to myself. I cannot put something at all into my stomach, So I should choose what I eat with all respect and goodness. So these are the types of yajna. All the indriya vishayas, here it is told, Shabdadin Vishayananye Indriyagnishu juhvati. All the 5 sense organs, touch, smell. So this nose can smell anything and everything, but I choose to do so. That is yajna. See, here yajna is offering of the dhanyas, the samagri, the ghee to the Agni. That is what we will be doing here also. The yajna, the food which we take in is a yajna. And whatever we see with these Panchendriyas, that also should be yajna. So that is how all the pure things should be taken into ourselves with the sense organs. This is what is explained in this, and we will continue with the chapter in the next week and see all the other yajnas which can be conducted. Hari Om. This is a very interesting chapter. Hari Om.